There's no perfect way to treat hair loss, but there are a few methods out there that are tried and true that have good science behind it, but like anything, everything has its pros and cons. I'm Dr. DRGREENEY, I'm a board-certified dermatologist, so let's talk about medical therapy versus low-level laser therapy for hair loss. For years and years, medical therapy has been the key to treating hair loss. Some common medications are minoxidil and finasteride. And both of these can be used both topically and orally. But like any medicine, they have their side effects too. And there's always going to be an element of a risk versus reward situation with these medications. Now, for most people, topical minoxidil is no real trouble. The biggest thing that happens for people is a little bit of initial hair shedding, which isn't so bad because some of those resting hairs are getting kicked out for new growing hairs. And the other thing that could happen is skin irritation. And you can switch between different formulations of creams and solutions, but sometimes people simply can't tolerate it. Now, oral minoxidil comes with a much larger laundry list of side effects that can happen, so it's best to talk to your dermatologist in person about that one. Finasteride has been one that's been very interesting. In the younger patient population, finasteride, which is a medicine that blocks a strong version of testosterone in our skin causing hair loss, has been shown to decrease libido and even cause erectile dysfunction. Now, most of these cases are reversible when you stop the medicine, and while this side effect is rare, this is a side effect that some people simply won't risk. Now, low-level laser therapy can actually be used with or without medications, and it's perfect for somebody who simply wanted to avoid medications altogether. And like most treatments for chronic conditions like hair loss, you're going to have to keep up with either the topical medicines, the oral medicines, or the low-level laser therapy to continue getting your best benefits. But this works particularly well for a type of alopecia called androgenetic alopecia. It's alopecia that's caused by androgens, which are strong versions of testosterone that cause hair miniaturization or shrinking of hair or hair loss altogether. This strong version of testosterone called DHT limits your hair's ability to grow thick and full. We can combat this with topical medicines and treatments like low-level laser therapy to get your thickest, fullest hair. By using low-level laser therapy, we can ensure that your hair stays in an active growing phase for as long as possible. And low-level laser therapy doesn't have to be used alone. It can be combined with many other treatments, things like PRP, minoxidil, finasteride, but for some people, they don't want to use medical treatments and they'd rather use treatments that avoid medicines altogether. As a dermatologist, I often find that people combining these treatments together will always help them get their best result. Men's hair loss tends to show up a little bit differently than women. For men, often hair loss will start on the vertex scalp, also sometimes near the temple, which we'll call the frontotemporal scalp. For most of my patients that are women, they almost always notice a widening of the part. This can be the first sign of hair loss in women. With time in both men and women, these areas of sparse hair growth can become worse and become even bald areas. In men, this tends to become more straight up baldness. In women, usually doesn't get to the point of being complete baldness, but hair can get very thin. And honestly, even any type of hair loss, whether it's fairly mild to severe, is always really disturbing to my patients. When using a device like iRestore, there are two things that are critically important. One, the wavelength of the light and the power. Wavelength is super important because it's going to determine how that light affects the cells that we're trying to target. It also is going to determine the depth of penetration. Another important thing is power, and this is basically how strong the light is. It's important to balance power because too much can be irritating and a bad thing, and not enough, you just may not get the results that you're looking for. Now, we perceive different wavelengths with our eyes based on the color, and these red colors are the ones that tend to be most helpful for hair loss. One, because they penetrate deeply enough, and two, because they actually have the photoactive capability to influence hair growth in our skin. So this combination of wavelength and power, we also have to bring in an element of time to weigh out how much energy we need in our skin to help stimulate this hair growth. The awesome thing about the iRestore device is it actually combines both lasers and LEDs. Lasers come from a single wavelength, so we can target them very well, we can penetrate them deeply to where they need to go. So LEDs kind of bathe a broader region of the scalp with the effective light to help get your best hair. And unfortunately, there's a myth out there that LEDs aren't effective. And this is simply not true. Both LEDs and lasers have proven to be effective. Some hair follicles are not so deep in the skin, and LEDs can work just fine for those. The iRestore device is the only device on the market that has 282 lasers and LEDs at the right power and wavelength to get your best results. Some of the other devices on the market that are lasers only don't offer a broad enough coverage. Sometimes the lasers are actually too focused to reach all the areas around the edges of our hairline and lower on our neck. And the great thing about the internet now is we have amazing before and after pictures from all over the world, along with a ton of great reviews on Amazon, so you can check those out. The beautiful thing about low-level laser therapy is it's very safe. People really aren't going to have side effects from it. The wavelength of the laser and LEDs has been proven to be successful in increasing hair thickness and also hair density, meaning compared to placebo, it's better at regrowing hair. As a dermatologist, my patients deserve the very best access to all the treatments that are available for hair loss. For my patients that want to avoid medications altogether, it gives gives them a drug-free option for treating their hair loss. With low-level laser therapy like with the iRestore device, it's a one-time purchase. So once you have the device, you can use it every other day for 25 minutes and maintain your hair growth. You got to spend enough time to get the best result.